The Lord be with you.
And with his spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. The Pharisees went and plotted to entrap Jesus in what he said. So they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and teach the way of the God in accordance with truth, and show deference to no one. For you do not regard people with partiality. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this, and whose title?" They answered, "Caesar's." Then he said to them, "Give therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." The Gospel of the Lord. This is the 29th Sunday of Ordinary Time. And for the last few weeks in the Gospel, Jesus Christ has been on a roll. This is the time of year when, week after week, we hear parable after parable after parable, so Jesus can stake out his position on something. Recently, he's talking about the kingdom here on earth and the kingdom in heaven. Much to the dismay of the Pharisees, the Herodians, and the other Jewish leaders. Remember our gospel from last week? Heaven was like a king who threw a wedding banquet, invited people, and no one came. The Jewish leaders, I'm sure, felt that they were the condemned guests. And on the 27th week of Ordinary Time, the vineyard owner leased the vineyard to tenants, and they didn't pay their rent. The Jewish leaders appeared to be the wicked tenants who killed the king's son, the vineyard owner's son. The week before that, a man has two sons, and the Jewish leaders appear under the guise of the son who did not do his father's will. And before that, the vineyard owner hired people at various times of the day, some in the early morning, some in the afternoon, and he paid them all the same. And the Jewish leaders are portrayed as the complainants. In each case, those who were more privileged were passed over in favor of someone appearing undeserving. All through this, the Jewish leaders, the Pharisees and others, the most privileged, were feeling the heat. Jesus was growing in popularity, and the Jewish leaders have been silent, but today in this gospel, we see them launch a counterattack. Suddenly, Jesus is headed for a conflict. He's being tested, and quite frankly, if he blows it, he'll lose his honor with the people. It's a sticky situation. They start out in a pretty wily way. They start out by flattering Jesus, trying to disarm him. Listen to what they say. "Teacher, we know that you are sincere, and you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth, and show deference to no one." And then they ask the question they had plotted. "Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" That question set Jesus up for a real dilemma. If he said it was unlawful to pay the tax, they would report him to the Romans and he would be arrested. And if they took the opposite position and said it was lawful to pay the tax, he would stand discredited amongst his followers. But Jesus, he was a smart one. And he wasn't about to be caught up in this. He answered with his own question, referring to a coin used to pay the tax. "Whose head is this, And whose title? I'll bet the Jewish leaders didn't see that one coming. They answered Caesar's, and Jesus said to them, "Give therefore to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God things that are God's." And that was it. That's all he had to say. And he went off and continued in his ministry. Notice, though, that Jesus doesn't insist that we follow God and God alone. With his unique wisdom, he didn't lay down any rules or regulations. And that's why his teaching is timeless, never out of date. But something else came out of that brief exchange. Jesus established that you could be responsible to powers here on earth and in heaven at the same time. In fact, the Catechism says we have a duty to respond to government as long as they're not working in an immoral way. It's sort of like having dual citizenship. We are subjects of the local authority. We're citizens of Windsor, of the province, of the country. And yet we are subjects of the kingdom of God. And that's good news for you and me. Here's the thing. In this gospel, Jesus sets up the framework for achieving balance in our lives. A balance of spirituality, religious observance, and the secular world. And this contributes greatly to our everyday existence. Balance is best achieved in combination with the cardinal virtue of temperance, the virtue by which a person uses balance to be able to relax and have some fun without crossing the line and committing sin. We balance our role with the church with our role in secular society because the church tells us to. Alongside our responsibilities to the church, the Catechism mandates that we fulfill our obligations to society, that we submit to legitimate authorities for service and for the common good, that we pay taxes, that we exercise our right to vote, and that we defend our country if called upon. That's all in the Catechism. We balance our work and our family life. We balance our exercise and our leisure. We balance our time spent alone with our time spent with others. Strike a balance between all aspects of our existence helps us to lead a happy and contented life. It ensures our growth as an individual and secures mental peace as well and well-being. Jesus could have easily said, "You're all in with God and nothing else," but that's not what he said. He said, you can be responsible to both society and to God. But living a balanced life will ultimately allow us to focus our attention on Jesus, to strengthen and maintain our relationship with God, who makes all of this possible. So sure, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but give to God all that is his.